What's going on, Workforce? Brian here, and today is a special day. Right now, as you're watching this, we are meeting with Yoshi P. We're looking at the game, and I don't know what I'm going to see. And I'm not saying this to brag by any stretch of the imagination. I'm saying this because I've been talking about this game for 10 years, this coming E3, and I've been excited about this game for even longer than that. We've only been on YouTube for a little bit, but my journey with Final Fantasy XIV, it's amazing to see what has happened just in the last decade alone. The ups and the downs and just the life changes that we've had together, as a community in that regards. And that's kind of what this video is about. And I think it's appropriate to talk about kind of like my experience with this game over the last 10 years and the profound impact that it's had on my life. When I'm getting to kind of experience something that is, truly just humbling to be a part of, and that's being somewhat considered a community leader as it relates to Final Fantasy XIV, and that's all because of you guys. Like, that's all because of you. Everything that you guys have done, every comment, every like, every anytime you've shared a video or guide, or even taken the time to answer somebody's own questions in the comments below, you guys have made this community great. You've highlighted what makes Final Fantasy XIV special, and I think it's the fact that as fans of video games and fans of Final Fantasy, that we are here together, that this is an MMO, and it's inherent that we help each other out in that regards. But if you guys aren't aware, over 10 years ago, the last EGM that I received was in January. And in it, they talked about, like at E3, they were going to talk about, hey, we're talking about the next thing to follow Final Fantasy XI. And as a long-term Final Fantasy XI player, been playing since North American launch, this excited me greatly. And then, and so obviously there was really no information, and I watched E3 like rigorously. And then on the PlayStation, press conference, they got up and they announced Final Fantasy XIV exclusive to PS3, and they showed off the trailer, and it was gorgeous. And thus, like I stood up and was like screaming and just so excited to see Final Fantasy XIV. And we didn't really get a ton of information, but just enough to kind of speculate about the design and what the kind of the logo meant with the weapons. So shortly right after the press conference ended, I ran out and bought an M Audio mixer. Essentially, I had some mics because I was in a band. Long story short, not really good. And so I had a lot of equipment, but then I was like, how do I get this into the computer? So I went out and bought a device, and we started a podcast, which we ran up on my site, Comic Earth. And if you guys aren't aware, like I still am a cartoonist, and I've done various things professionally and just for fun, with illustrations. And so we put that out there, and people started to discover us. And one of the people who discovered us was the Curse Network. They had a site, Final Fantasy Core, FFXIV Core.com. And so we ended up they picked up the podcast and ran it there as the Crystal Core podcast. And we did that pretty much for the life of the game, and so we did that, and there was a lot of in and out. Like Kevin was around, and you guys might remember Kevin, and then he kind of dropped off, and we picked up Danny, and so Danny and I kind of ran the podcast for a while. It was a lot of fun, and then eventually, with the shutting down of 1.0 and the uncertainty of 2.0, Curse decided that they weren't really going to keep FFXIV Core going, and so we decided to go ahead and let the podcast expire along with that. And at that time, Aetheryte Radio was looking for new hosts because nobody knew that 2.0 was going to be successful or not. And so I ended up applying and getting accepted to be a part of the Aetheryte Radio podcast. So it's been in a journey. Like, as many times as the battle system's changed, is probably as many times as I've been and kind of done podcasting as a part of that. And I've also done some illustrations and cartoons for Final Fantasy XIV, which has been a real pleasure to do, but I haven't had, unfortunately, a lot of time to do it as of recently. But neither here nor there. We've been doing the Aetheryte Radio, and 2.0 launches, and oh my gosh, it's success, and it's beautiful, and it's just impactful. It's kind of funny to think that's what's all happened in my personal life over this time. When 14 first launched, I was dating my now wife, but at the time we were dating. We were playing 11 together. we were, and 11 was her first real entry into video games. She's so hardcore. It's like she was kind of nervous because she didn't, she felt like she might be judged because she was playing 11. And so we just kind of didn't share that at the time. And then she really kind of got into it. And then when 14 came out, she really dove into that with me. And it's a lot of fun. And we've been playing that game pretty much up to Stormblood. Because by the time Stormblood launched, we also had our third child, Mikey. And he's doing really good. So we got Maddie and Mikey. So over the course of 10 years, got married, have had 3 children, and it's going to be, another who knows fun decade as it goes from here. So we've done that. We got married. We've played these expansions, and all the while, various different things have come up with the career. About almost 3 years ago, this coming August, so right around the 6th anniversary, Chris and I, who've been talking about video games, and I got him to come play 2.0, we're like, hey, let's start a YouTube channel. Because I'm still doing Aether Radio, still to this day, and doing and we started a YouTube channel, doing a podcast talking about just video games in general, because I love video games. If it doesn't come across, I just really connect with them. And obviously it's a long-term lifetime goal to make my own. And I've kind of talked about that in the VR video about kind of what I'm experimenting there. And so there's obviously the controller guides connected, obviously my experience and expertise talking about Final Fantasy XIV for 10 years, the E3, like from that podcast, been talking about it, been playing it for 9 years this year, which is just insane. This August is going to be 9 years since I dove into Eorzea, took my first steps into the world. And as far as it goes, it's 1.0 is such an interesting story because of its success. If 2.0 wasn't successful, I think essentially that could have probably permanently damaged the Final Fantasy brand. That's where, when I look at a game like Anthem, I'm rooting for BioWare to turn that ship around, because I think that I look at Anthem as it exists now, and I go, wow, there's a lot of potential here. And so that's what I actually saw in 1.0. I had prepaid for 6 months of subscription time with Krista. Never ended up using it because they made the game free to play. So if you guys don't remember, they after the Horde launch, they're like, okay, we're going to go temporary free to play until we can get all this fixed together. And so what Yoshi P had to do was he really made the 1.0 game, by the time you get to 1.23 and 1.22, really interesting. And there's parts of me that kind of miss that sandbox element. In fact, some of the critiques that I've had with 14 as it exists now is that I want to see some more sandbox elements. Eureka is a good example of that. Hopefully they get some more technology behind it, but not the point of this video. I do have very fond memories of that 1.0 experience. We met a lot of really close friends who we're still close with today. We've, many platforms for voice communication. I know we started with Skype because it was multi-platform, and eventually now we're on Discord for all voice communications. 10 years has been an epic journey, and then just even the last 2.5 have just been incredible. And that's due to the fact of y'all's response and this community here at Work to Game. And it is really quite, I think, beautiful to see what's all happened. And I'm just thrilled because we've lost people over the last 10 years. I remember being a part of Core, and there was a kid who passed away, and he never got to play 1.0. And I've thought about him last like a year ago, and then this year as I was sitting down to film this, and I was just I wonder what he would think. He was really looking forward to it, and that's just the reality of life. And it's that the game in and of itself has been such a huge part of my life, and it's enhanced everything about it in a way. The stories that the game tells, the stories of the Grey Google Wall and 1.0, and how our participation in the launch of 2.0, and just the friends that we've made and we've lost, and the lives that were also created. I'm sure probably anybody out there that's been playing this game as long as I have, I've run into them on live stream where they've been playing since beta or alpha. I got into the 1.0 beta, so it's been definitely it's been a nice journey. But obviously I said I've had 3 kids so far, and one of the fun things that I would like to share with you guys today is that Julie and I are expecting our 4th child now. We have a goal, like one of the things that we kind of said when we got married, and we're kind of still feeling it right now. We'll have to see what happens after number 4. Is that we were kind of always thinking 6 kids. We've always wanted a big family, and right now, as challenging as it can be, it's truly a blessing. And Maddie's starting to get into the age where she's kind of playing around with the character. I think she's a couple years away from joining me on this 14 adventure, but it is such I am just blown away. I think a great community. I'm an amazing wife. Beautiful. Like, kids are just like when they listen and then they don't just utterly destroy things. Parenting, it's got its pros and cons, absolutely. But I just want to sit down and say thank you to each and every one of you, whether you've just discovered this channel or you were listening to the podcast so long ago. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this journey, both in game and in the real world. And thank you so much for everything, all the comments, and all the questions. It is a good day. It is a good game, and I'm hopeful that we can celebrate another 10 years. Here in another 10 years. So it's going to be fun. By that time, maybe Maddie will be running the guides. Who knows? But anyway, I just wanted to sit down and share that. I want to share what this game means to me, what you guys mean to me, and I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the support. Thank you for the kind words, and thanks for being here. Anyway, for Work to Game, my name is Brian. I hope you have a phenomenal day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Hey everybody, Brian and Chuck here for Work to Game. Chuck wants to tell you that you should totally subscribe to the channel, and that you should totally hit that like button. Oh, and then we also got t-shirts on sale for some reason. That's a little bit mean, Chuck. I'm not crazy.